Hi, I'm Ian Griffiths, and this is a talk from the Building Business Applications with Silverlight series. In this talk, we're going to look at the window placement and window activation handling features added in Silverlight version 4. So with Silverlight 4, we get a main window property available from the application object that lets us deal with things about the window's position, whether it's on top, whether it's got the focus right now. So it provides us with a top and a left property that control where it is on the screen. And if we enable manual positioning of the window at startup in the application manifest, then this gives us a way of controlling the window position. So we could, for example, save the position out and write the new position, the old position back in when the application next starts up, so it remembers where the user's window is. And we can similarly control the size. We also get an activate method that we can call to bring the window to the foreground. We could use this in conjunction with the toast pop-ups we showed in an earlier talk to make sure that when the user clicks the toast notification, the main window comes back to the foreground. There's also a topmost property that we can set to say we'd like our main window always to appear on top of everything else. And there's a window state property that lets us get access to whether the window is currently minimized or maximized or in its normal state. Now, unless you're running with elevated privileges, these operations will normally only be available to you either if you're in an input handler, or in the case of the window positioning properties, you can set those from the startup handler as long as you've enabled manual positioning of the window. So let's take a look at this. I'm going back to the toast pop-up notification application that I showed in an earlier talk, and we're going to modify this a little. I want to be able to control the window position on startup. So the first thing I need to do is make sure that in the out of browser settings, I've checked this set window location manually checkbox. By default, that's not going to be checked. I had to go in and turn that on. The default behavior is to automatically position the window. And unless you change this, you'll find that you don't have any effect when you try and move where the window is on startup. But with this in place, I can write code in my application startup handler, in the startup event handler here. I can say inside my application object, get hold of the main window and maybe set its left to be something else. Let's set that to 1, so it's very obviously near the left-hand side of the window. Now, I'm only allowed to do this inside an out-of-browser application. So what I should do before trying this is check to see if we're running out of browser. And only try and modify the property then, otherwise I'm going to get an exception. So let's run this, and I'm going to redeploy the application. So let me run the web app first. Let's install this. I'm going to click install, and notice immediately the window jumps over to the left, because that's what I've asked it to do. So now it's installed, let's go back to the debugger, and I'll set the startup project to be the out-of-browser, the Silverlight app, so now I can debug straight into the out-of-browser app. Now, one of the things I'd like to do with this API is make sure that my toast notification is a bit more useful. So right now, from the previous lab, I click the button, the toast appears, and you'd usually expect me to click on that and have the focus go back into the main window, but that doesn't happen. If I click here, bring something else to the front, and try and click on the toast, nothing doing. So what I need to do is write some code that will actually handle that. So let's close this. I'm going to go into my notification content, and in here I'm going to add a mouse down handler. Mouse left button down. And in the code behind. Obviously I'm outside of the application class now, so this time I have to go and find the current application object. And in this I can get the main window and I can say activate. So please give it the focus. So if I hit F5 again, so I'm going to click on the button to show the toast. I'm going to bring Visual Studio to the front. Now I'm going to click on the toast again, and now my application comes back to the foreground. So that's how we tend to use the placement APIs. We can use the left and the top and the width and the height to make sure the window opens wherever we'd like it to open on application startup. And then for things like toast handling, we can bring our application to the foreground, and typically we'd also check to make sure it's not minimized. And if it is, restore the window to make sure that when the user clicks on the toast, the main window becomes visible.